The galaxy was silent, yet filled with tension. In the heart of a grand star system, an ancient council chamber floated above a dying sun. It was a structure older than most civilizations, a ring of black stone and shining crystal, large enough to hold thousands of beings from every corner of the stars. This was the place where empires decided the fate of worlds. This was where the future of Earth would be sealed. One by one, ships from alien empires arrived and docked. Their leaders walked into the chamber, each different in form, some tall and insect-like, others scaled and reptilian, some with glowing skin or wings of fire. Each came with pride. Each came with power. For weeks, whispers had spread across the stars. The humans were growing too fast, too bold. They had to be stopped. The seats of the chamber filled. Voices echoed, deep and strange, speaking in hundreds of languages. Translation orbs glowed above every table, carrying words across tongues. The council leader, an ancient being with skin like molten stone, raised his hand. Silence fell. "The time has come," he said, his voice heavy as iron. "Humanity refuses to obey. They refuse to respect the order of the galaxy. They spread, they fight, they grow. Today, we decide their future." The first empire stood to speak. A tall reptilian commander hissed through sharp teeth. "Humans are dangerous. They do not bow. They do not know fear. They must be enslaved before they spread further." A cheer rose from many voices. Others slammed their claws, their hands, their limbs on the stone tables, in agreement. Next, a leader with insect wings stood. "They are too wild, too unpredictable. We offered them a place as servants. They rejected it. They mocked us. They fought when they should have surrendered. If we do not enslave them now, tomorrow they will rise against us all." The chamber grew louder. Every speech added fuel to the fire. More and more leaders stood, their words sharp with anger. "They are too proud," shouted one. "They are too reckless," said another. "They are a disease in the galaxy, and we must chain them before they spread." The vote began. One by one, every empire raised their voice. Lights flashed above their seats, green for slavery, red for freedom. The chamber filled with green. Hundreds of empires, thousands of worlds, all choosing the same answer. Humanity would be broken. Humanity would wear chains. Yet not all were certain. A few whispered doubts to their neighbors. Some remembered the small wars where humans had fought back, battles they should have lost, but somehow survived. A tiny number of leaders hesitated, their hands trembling before pressing their decision. But fear of standing alone pushed them forward. One by one, the votes turned green. At last, the leader with molten skin stood again. His glowing eyes swept across the chamber. "The decision is clear. Every species has spoken. Humanity will be enslaved. Their fleets will be dismantled. Their people will serve." Thunderous sound shook the chamber. Voices roared, some in celebration, others in hunger for what was to come. Plans were already being whispered: who would take Earth, who would claim its colonies, who would break humanity first. But beneath the noise, a strange unease lingered. The chamber was filled with pride, but also with shadows of doubt. The vote was complete, yet something in the silence between words felt heavy. A young observer, not a leader but a messenger, sat near the back. She was an alien girl, slender, her eyes glowing softly like crystals. She had no power, no vote, but she listened. As the council shouted a victory, her hands tightened on her knees. Something about the decision felt wrong. Something about the silence of Earth made her uneasy. The humans had not sent on. They had not begged for mercy. They had not answered the threats shouted across the stars. Instead, they had gone quiet. And quiet, she thought, was more frightening than anger. Still, the decision was made. Armies would be raised. Fleets would gather. The order of the galaxy had spoken. Humanity would be chained. The council leader's voice thundered one final time, echoing across the chamber and across the stars. "So it is decided. The humans will be slaves. Let every empire prepare. Let Earth fall." The lights dimmed, the votes locked, and the fate of humanity was sealed, or so they thought. The decision of the council spread like fire across the galaxy. Every empire carried the news back to its fleets, and every soldier heard the same command: prepare for war. Humanity had been voted into chains, and the armies of the stars would be the ones to place those chains upon them, in the blackness of space. Massive carriers came alive. Engines burned bright as armadas gathered near their home systems. Weapons long hidden in vaults were reactivated, polished, and made ready. For the first time in centuries, rival species stood side by side, united not by friendship but by a shared goal. They had crushed other civilizations before. They believed this would be no different. Across training grounds, alien soldiers drilled without pause. Rows of reptilian warriors swung their blades under the burning suns of their worlds. Armored insectoid troops sharpened their claws and hissed their chants of war. Machines of war were built in factories so large they covered entire continents, stamping out tanks, cannons, and combat suits that shook the ground with their weight. In the skies of countless worlds, banners rose, symbols of unity, of dominance, of the great council's will. The word spread into every ear: the humans will serve. Yet for all their pride, whispers followed the soldiers. Around campfires on desert planets, in the shadowed corners of starships, quiet voices asked the same questions. Why had humanity not sent a single word? Why had no emissary begged for peace? Why had Earth not protested or tried to delay the vote? On one icy moon where fleets gathered, two officers spoke in hushed tones. They should have sent something, one muttered, his breath clouding in the freezing air. A plea, at least. That's what most do when the council votes against them. Humans are arrogant, the other replied, though his voice was uncertain. They think themselves strong, but when the fleets arrive, they will see. Still, he did not sound convinced. Across the galaxy, warships filled the dark void. Their hulls gleamed with fresh paint, their engines roared, their weapons charged. But despite the noise of preparation, the silence from Earth grew heavier. In the Council's command halls, leaders received reports. Scouts searched human systems, but the news was strange. Human colonies were quiet, defenses were hidden, fleets were not seen. It was as if the humans had vanished into the shadows. Some leaders dismissed the reports. They hide because they are afraid, they said. They wait because they know they are beaten. Others frowned, uneasy. No prey waits so calmly, one commander whispered. No prey hides so deeply unless it plans to strike. On one world, in the shadow of a crimson star, a young alien girl walked the training fields of her people. She was the same observer who had sat in the back of the council chamber, the one whose crystal eyes had caught the unease of the vote. Now she watched soldiers march, their weapons clattering in rhythm, their voices chanting of victory to come. But the girl did not cheer. She stared at the horizon where the crimson star bled across the sky, and felt the same heavy silence pressing against her chest. Humanity's quiet was louder than all the armies combined. It was as if the humans had chosen to let the galaxy make its move first. And that, she thought, was dangerous. The commanders of her world spoke boldly. We will be the first to strike Earth, one said with pride. We will take their capital as tribute. The others laughed and nodded. Their confidence was unshaken, but the girl said nothing. In her heart, doubt grew. As weeks passed, the fleets became ready. Armadas stretched across the stars, lined up like blades waiting to fall. Millions of soldiers stood armed, their armor polished, their eyes hungry for conquest. Factories slowed as production was complete. The galaxy stood at the edge of war, and all of it pointed toward Earth. Then, at last, the signal came. The council leader's voice carried across systems, reaching ships, planets, and armies alike. The time has come. Move forward. Take Earth. Take humanity. The fleets roared into motion. Engines burned brighter than suns as they jumped into hyperspace, their shadows falling across the stars. On every ship, alien soldiers grinned and growled, eager for battle. Yet deep inside the flagship of one armada, silence hung heavy. A commander stood before his officers, a holographic map of human space glowing before him. The map was quiet, empty, without movement. No fleets, no defenses, only silence. He frowned, his scaled face twisting. Why do they not resist? He asked softly. Why do they wait? No one answered. The silence of Earth remained, deep and unbroken, like the calm before a storm. On the icy moon, the officer who had once doubted stared out at the stars as his fleet left orbit. His voice trembled as he whispered to himself, "We should not have voted. We should not have done this." But his words were lost in the roar of warships leaving for Earth. And so the galaxy moved as one, united in arrogance, blind to the danger ahead. They believed they had already won. They believed Earth was theirs, but the silence of humanity was not weakness. It was a warning. The fleets moved through the stars like a tidal wave. Thousands of ships, each carrying soldiers, weapons, and arrogance, tore through hyperspace. Their engines burned with confidence. Their commanders spoke of victory as though it had already been written. The galaxy had chosen, and humanity would wear chains. At the edge of human space, the first fleets emerged. Stars stretched back into focus, and the dark void opened wide. Before them lay systems of quiet worlds, colonies of Earth. The commanders expected to see human fleets standing in defense, weapons raised in desperation. But the skies were still. The first fleet scanned for enemies. The reports came quickly. Nothing. No ships, no defense platforms, no sign of resistance. The commanders laughed. "See, they are broken already," one said. "They hide like frightened prey." Soldiers on the decks roared in approval. They believed the humans had surrendered before the battle even began. The fleets advanced, moving deeper into human space. They reached the orbit of a colony, a small world of oceans and green lands. The surface was calm, its cities silent. No cannons fired from the ground, no fighters rose into the air. It was too quiet. "Drop the soldiers," ordered one commander. "We will take the cities by hand." Dropships fell from the sky, engines burning as they pierced the atmosphere. Soldiers landed on the surface, weapons ready, hearts eager for conquest. They marched into the empty streets of human cities. Glass towers reflected the sun, but no people moved. The houses were quiet, the air still. It was as if the humans had simply vanished. Reports filled the comm channels. Cities abandoned. No resistance. Humans have fled. The commanders grew impatient. "Search deeper. They cannot hide forever." Armies spread out, searching the silent cities. But everywhere was the same quiet, empty, waiting. And then, the silence broke. At first, it was small. A hidden mine erupted beneath a column of alien soldiers, tearing them apart in fire and smoke. Then another exploded in a nearby street, taking a dropship with it. Panic rushed through the troops. Before they could regroup, human weapons hidden in buildings came alive. Automated turrets unfolded from walls, spitting fire into the invaders. Alien soldiers screamed, firing back blindly, but the humans were nowhere to be seen. Their traps did the fighting for them. Across the city, explosions lit up one street after another. Dropships in the sky burst into flames as hidden missiles shot upward. Whole units vanished in fire before they even found an enemy to fight. On the command ship above, the alien leader shouted in anger, "They dare resist us with tricks." His words rang with fury, but behind his eyes flickered something else: fear. The reports kept coming. Losses high. Troops scattered. Resistance unseen. Then, in the shadows of a ruined street, a small group of human fighters appeared. They moved fast, silent, their weapons sharp and precise. Alien soldiers tried to stop them, but every shot from the humans struck true. They fought like predators, vanishing into smoke after every attack. One alien officer gasped as he realized the truth. "They are not fleeing, they are hunting us." The battle spread. Across multiple colonies, the story repeated. At first, the cities looked empty. Then the traps came alive, the skies filled with fire, and human fighters struck from the shadows. The fleets that had come so boldly found themselves bleeding before they even saw their enemy. On the flagship, the commander stared at the holographic map. Red signals of losses spread across the surface of the colony. His clawed hand shook as he gripped the table. "This is only the beginning," he muttered. Meanwhile, in the darkness of space beyond the colony, human warships waited. They had stayed hidden, watching, letting the invaders believe they had won. Now their engines roared to life, sleek, powerful, and glowing with deadly lights. The ships cut through the void like blades drawn from a sheath. The first strike came without warning. A beam of searing energy tore through an alien cruiser, splitting it in two. Fire bloomed in the silence of space. Then another blast struck, and another. Alien ships burst like stars, collapsing, one after another. Panic filled the channels. "We are under attack." Unknown human fleet detected. The commanders shouted for their ships to return fire, but their words were drowned out by the chaos. Human warships moved too fast, their weapons too precise. Alien fleets that had never feared defeat now screamed for order. On the icy moon far away, the young alien girl with crystal eyes watched the reports arrive on her world's screens. She listened to the cries of commanders who once boasted of victory. She saw the flashes of explosions across human space. And deep inside, she whispered the words she had feared since the vote. "They are not the prey. We are." The galaxy had voted to enslave Earth. The fleets had moved with arrogance. But in the silence, humanity had prepared, and now, the first cracks had opened. The hunters had become the hunted. The first battles were supposed to be victories. That was what the alien commanders told themselves as their fleets fell apart. But the truth could not be denied. Human defenses had not been broken, they had only just awakened. In orbit above the captured colonies, alien warships burned. Hulls that were said to be indestructible split open under human fire. Cruisers, destroyers, carriers all fell the same way, like prey dragged into the jaws of a predator. For every human ship destroyed, 10 alien vessels followed. Commanders shouted for retreat, but retreat was chaos. Fleets that had once moved like rivers of steel broke apart into scattered fragments. Ships crashed into each other in their desperation to escape human fire. Communications collapsed under the screams of dying crews. On the ground, alien soldiers hid in the ruins of human cities. The traps never stopped. Mines detonated beneath their vehicles. Automated turrets tracked them from rooftops. Human fighters struck and disappeared before the invaders could even raise their weapons. Entire battalions vanished without firing a single successful shot. One alien officer dropped his rifle, falling to his knees. His translator unit whispered the words of surrender into the air, though no human was there to hear him. "Mercy," he begged. "Please, mercy," but the humans gave none. Not yet. From orbit, a single human warship descended. Its shadow fell across the burning colony like a storm cloud blotting out the sun. The alien soldiers stared at it in terror. It was larger than they had believed, its hull glowing with lines of power, its weapons silent but ready. The ship did not fire. It only hovered, a reminder that humanity was watching, on alien command bridges far from the battlefield. Leaders received the reports. They listened to the cries of their fleets. They watched the numbers, full ships lost, soldiers gone, colonies failing, pride drained from their faces, replaced by dread. "This cannot be possible," one whispered. The vote was clear. We united. They should be broken, but they were not broken. They were rising. Human warships spread deeper into space, striking fast and vanishing into shadows. Alien fleets that chased them found only empty void, then ambushes waiting like jaws in the dark. Human weapons tore through shields as if they were made of paper. Their technology was not just equal, it was beyond. On the icy moon where fleets had once gathered, panic had begun. The young alien girl with crystal eyes stood among the officers of her world. She listened to the endless stream of reports, each one worse than the last. Entire fleet destroyed near Mars. Losses at Alpha Centauri catastrophic. Human ships sighted near the border of 5 empires. The officers argued, shouting over one another. Some demanded more troops. Others demanded retreat. None could agree. Their world had been so certain of victory. Now fear gripped them all. The girl spoke quietly, but her words carried weight. "You did not vote to enslave prey," she said. "You voted to enslave predators, and now the predators are awake." No one answered her. They could not. Her words were truth. Back on the battlefield, the human counterattack grew stronger. No longer were they hiding behind traps and shadows. Now their fleets appeared openly, striking with confidence. Ships of silver and fire cut through the blackness of space, their weapons glowing with a brilliance the alien empires had never seen. Alien commanders tried to rally their forces. "Hold the line," they shouted, but the line was already gone. Soldiers no longer believed in victory. They saw their comrades burned alive, their fleets destroyed, their leaders powerless. Fear spread faster than orders. In one desperate attempt, a coalition of 3 empires gathered their remaining fleets and charged at Earth itself. They hoped to strike the heart, to end the resistance in one decisive blow. Their warships roared forward, filling the void with fire, but waiting for them was not fear. Waiting for them was not weakness. Waiting for them was the human flagship. It appeared like a god rising from the void, larger than anything the aliens had ever built. Its hull gleamed with lines of energy brighter than stars. Its weapons opened with a single blast, and an entire alien battleship vanished in silence. The charge faltered. Soldiers who once believed they were masters of the galaxy now trembled. Voices filled the comm channels. "What are they? How did they build this? We cannot fight them." The flagship advanced slowly, calmly, as if it had all the time in the universe. Every step it took forward sent waves of terror through the alien armadas. The fleets that had sworn to enslave humanity now broke apart, scattering in every direction, desperate to flee. But fleeing did not save them. Human ships pursued, striking with precision, forcing them to run deeper into chaos. No safe harbor existed. No council could protect them. Humanity had turned their vote into a death sentence, for the first time in living memory. Alien empires who had enslaved countless worlds felt what it was like to be hunted, and in that moment, their arrogance shattered. From colony to colony, from fleet to fleet, one truth echoed: humanity was not falling, humanity was rising, and nothing could stop them. The vote of chains had become a plea for mercy. The galaxy's great council chamber, once filled with pride and arrogance, had turned into a hall of fear. Not long ago, every empire had raised their voices to enslave humanity. Their words had been loud, confident, dripping with disdain. But now those same voices trembled. Reports flooded in from every corner of space. Fleets burned, armies destroyed, colonies lost. The humans were not simply fighting, they were dismantling the power of the empires piece by piece. One leader slammed his hand against the table, his scaled skin trembling. This cannot be. We are united. How can one world resist the weight of the galaxy? But another, her wings quivering, whispered back, it is not one world, it is humanity, and they are stronger than all of us combined. Silence followed her words. No one argued, because deep inside, they all knew it was true. The humans were not scattered prey. They were organized, focused, and merciless. Their fleets moved with precision. Their weapons struck without hesitation, and their soldiers fought with a fire that no other species had ever matched. Every battle turned into disaster for the empires. Every strike pushed them further into terror. In the center of the chamber, the leader with molten stone skin rose. His glowing eyes flickered with doubt. We must fight harder. We must gather more. They cannot be endless. But even as he spoke, a messenger stumbled into the chamber, his armor scorched, his voice broken. The flagship, the human flagship, it destroyed an entire armada with a single strike. His words shook the chamber. Some leaders gasped, others lowered their heads in despair. A voice cried out, we voted to enslave them, now they come for us. They will enslave us instead. No, another hissed. Not enslave, they will destroy. The fear grew like fire in dry grass. The council chamber filled with shouts, not of pride, but of desperation. Some demanded surrender, others demanded retreat. A few, still clinging to arrogance, called for more fleets, but none could deny the truth they were losing. Across the stars, entire species felt the same terror. On once proud worlds, civilians huddled in fear as reports of human fleets drew closer. Soldiers who had once marched with confidence now whispered prayers. On the icy moon, the young alien girl with crystal eyes watched her people crumble. Her commanders argued over strategy, but their voices shook. They spoke of defensive lines, fallback positions, desperate bargains. But none of it mattered. The humans were coming, and nothing could stop them. She stepped forward, her voice calm but heavy. You made a mistake when you voted. You thought you were chaining animals, but what you tried to chain was fire. And now the fire is spreading. Her words cut through the chamber like a blade. Some turned to her in anger, others in silence. But none could deny the truth. Meanwhile, in human space, the fleets pressed forward. Colonies that had been attacked were retaken. Survivors cheered as alien armies fled in terror. Soldiers raised their banners not only for Earth, but for every world that had suffered under alien rule. Humanity's victory was no longer about survival, it was about dominance. On the front lines, alien commanders tried to send messages of surrender. Their transmissions filled human channels, pleas for mercy, promises to retreat, vows to never fight again. But humanity gave no answer. The silence continued, heavier and more terrifying than any weapon. One alien captain, trapped with his fleet near Jupiter, stared at the human warships surrounding him. His voice cracked as he spoke into the calm. Please, we surrender. We lay down arms. Spare us. But the human ships did not reply. They advanced slowly, their weapons glowing. The captain fell to his knees, begging to empty air. His crew wept. And then the ships opened fire. Word of such battles spread fast. Whole empires realized the truth. It was not simply about losing. It was about punishment. Humanity had not forgotten the vote. Humanity had not forgiven. The council chamber grew quieter with every new report. Leaders who had once shouted now sat in silence, their eyes hollow, their pride shattered. They had chosen chains for Earth, and in return they had brought chains upon themselves. The molten-skinned leader stood again, but his voice no longer carried pride. We must beg, he said, his tone broken. We must beg for their mercy before none of us remain. No one laughed. No one argued. The vote had once been a show of arrogance. Now, the only vote that mattered was whether they would kneel to humanity or be destroyed completely. And so, messages were prepared. Across the galaxy, emissaries were sent with words of surrender. The proud empires bent their heads low. They pleaded for forgiveness, for survival, for any chance to live under the shadow of the humans they once mocked. But Earth was silent. Humanity did not answer, and in that silence, the galaxy trembled. The begging began as whispers, scattered across broken fleets and collapsing colonies, but soon it grew into a chorus that spread across the galaxy. Messages poured into the void, desperate signals carried on every frequency, voices trembling with fear. This is the command of the Valari Armada. We surrender. We lay down all weapons. Please, do not strike our homeworld. This is the dominion of Kara. We renounce the vote. We beg forgiveness. Spare our people. World after world sent pleas. Their proud banners lowered, their leaders falling to their knees in shame. The same voices that had once mocked Earth now filled the stars with desperation. Humanity listened, but they did not speak. Their silence was more terrifying than any fleet. Alien civilians waited in dread, staring up at the skies above their cities, wondering if the next light they saw would be fire. Soldiers dropped their weapons and refused to fight, their commanders powerless to stop them. Across entire empires, panic rose. On one border world, a council of elders gathered in a small chamber. Their scales quivered as they argued over what words might save them. If we offer tribute, perhaps they will spare us. If we swear loyalty, maybe they will listen, but no one truly believed it. They had all seen the human flagship. They had all seen what happened to those who begged too late in another system. A queen with wings of crystal addressed her people. "We are guilty," she said. "We raised our voices to enslave them. Now we kneel. May they see mercy where none is deserved." Her words echoed across her world as her entire empire bent, their heads in surrender. The young alien girl with crystal eyes watched the galaxies collapse from her icy moon. Her people, too, prepared their message. Their leaders drafted words of apology, promises of tribute, vows of loyalty. Yet the girl's heart remained heavy. She knew humanity's silence was not forgetfulness, it was judgment. Meanwhile, human fleets pushed deeper into alien space. Their ships moved without pause, striking when they wished, vanishing when they chose. Planets that had once enslaved others now trembled as human vessels appeared above their skies. The ships did not always fire. Sometimes they hovered in silence, casting shadows that stretched across cities. And sometimes, without a word, they unleashed fire that left nothing standing. This uncertainty was worse than any war. The galaxy never knew who would be spared and who would be burned. On the Council's homeworld, panic grew unbearable. The great chamber that had once held proud voices now shook with fear. Leaders argued not about how to fight, but about how to survive. "Send everything we have as tribute," one shouted. "No, hide it. If they find us weak, they will kill us. Fall to your knees, all of you." Another screamed, "Show them you beg before they arrive." The chamber became chaos. Pride was gone. Dignity was gone. Only fear remained. Reports arrived of entire fleets disbanding. Crews abandoned their ships and fled to neutral systems, hoping to hide from human eyes. Entire empires collapsed without a battle, their leaders disappearing into exile. And still, Earth gave no answer. Humanity remained silent, for the first time in the history of the galaxy. The once proud council realized they were no longer the rulers of the stars. They were children standing before a storm, waiting for its mercy. On a distant battlefield, a single alien soldier, broken and wounded, crawled across the ashes. His voice was weak as he raised his cum to the sky. "Humans," he whispered, "we surrender. Spare us, I beg you." Above him, a human dropship hovered. Its engines roared, its weapons armed. For a moment, it simply lingered, casting its shadow over the soldier's broken body. Then, without firing, it turned and flew away. The soldier wept, not because he was spared, but because he realized the truth: mercy was not promised. Mercy was a choice, and it belonged only to the humans now. The galaxy's cries grew louder. More messages flooded the stars, all the same, begging, pleading, surrendering. The humans heard them all, but the silence never broke. On her icy moon, the young alien girl whispered into the quiet of her chamber, "This is no longer about chains. This is about justice. And justice does not listen to begging." Her words echoed like a prophecy, because the galaxy now knew what it had created. In voting to enslave Earth, they had awakened something greater than fear. They had awakened the wrath of humanity. And humanity was not finished. The begging never stopped. It filled the stars like a storm of broken voices. Every channel, every frequency, carried the same desperate words. Entire empires cried out in unison, promising loyalty, offering tribute, vowing to kneel. But still, humanity gave no reply. Days turned to weeks. The silence became unbearable. Alien leaders gathered in their shattered council chamber, their eyes hollow, their voices weak. Once they had roared with arrogance. Now, they whispered like frightened children. "What if they never answer?" One said, his claws shaking. "They will," another whispered, though his voice carried no strength. "They must." And then, at last, the silence broke. It began as a signalcom, steady, impossible to ignore. Every screen across the galaxy flickered with the same image. The crest of Earth, glowing bright, simple and unyielding. Alien soldiers froze where they stood. Civilians gasped and fell to their knees. The council chamber itself went silent as the symbol of humanity filled the air. Then, a voice spoke. It was human, deep and steady, carrying across the stars as though the galaxy itself was listening. You voted, the voice said. Every species, every empire, you voted to enslave us. You believed humanity would break. You believed we would kneel, but we did not. The words cut like a blade. In every empire, hearts froze. The humans had heard their pleas. The humans remembered every insult, every threat. You called us dangerous, the voice continued. You called us reckless. You were right. We are dangerous to those who seek to chain us. We are reckless to those who mistake silence for weakness. And now you beg for mercy. On the icy moon, the young alien girl with crystal eyes listened with tears on her cheeks. She had waited for this moment, and now it was here. The human voice grew sharper. Some of you will be spared. Some of you will not. We have seen who showed arrogance, who raised their voices first, who called for our chains with laughter on their tongues. Those voices will be silenced. Gasps filled the council chamber. Leaders who had once shouted for humanity's enslavement now fell to their knees, weeping. They knew what was coming, but hear this, the humans said. We are not like you. We will not enslave. We will not take your children in chains. We will not turn your worlds into prisons. We will give you something else. The galaxy held its breath. You will live in fear. You will live with the memory of this day. You will live knowing that when you voted to enslave us, you gave us the right to judge you. And we have judged. From this day on, humanity decides who rises and who falls. You will never forget our silence. You will never forget our answer. Then the voice faded, replaced once more by silence. But this silence was different. It was not the silence of waiting. It was the silence of judgment complete. Across the galaxy, the reaction was the same. Some empires collapsed entirely, their leaders abandoning their thrones, unable to face the weight of humanity's words. Others swore eternal loyalty, declaring that Earth was now the center of the galaxy's order. Still others hid, trembling, unsure if they had been spared or marked for destruction. And everywhere, the people whispered the same truth. The age of the council was over. The age of humanity had begun. On the icy moon, the young alien girl looked to the skies. Her people had begged like all the others, but they did not yet know if mercy would come. Still, as she stared at the stars, she felt no hatred only. She understood what many could not. This was not conquest. This was survival. Humanity had risen because the galaxy itself had forced them to. Her crystal eyes glowed softly as she whispered. We thought we were the masters, but we were only the test, and they passed. Above Earth, the human flagship drifted in silence. Its weapons were quiet, its hull gleaming in the light of the sun. Around it, the fleets of humanity stretched like an endless sea, ready to move, ready to strike, ready to remind the galaxy that mercy came not from weakness, but from strength. And in every corner of the stars, the lesson of that day was carved into memory. Every species had voted to enslave Earth. Now, they all lived to plead for mercy. And mercy belonged to humanity alone.